What was the big rumor in your high school? Did it turn out to be true? There was this kid. He was absolutely terrible at singing and acting, yet every year, he was the lead role in whatever play musical the drama class was putting on. Rumor had it that he was banging the drama teacher. It was never actually confirmed, but summer after graduation, the two of them went on a trip to Europe together. That pretty much confirms it. There was a rumor that some kid at my school died of an overdose or something. Everybody, including people who didn't even know the guy, made Facebook posts about how good of a guy he was and even created Facebook groups dedicated to his memory. Turns out kid was just got really sick for a couple of weeks and his friends decided to frick with everybody. Kid was like meh, frick it and played along. That our JV girls softball coach was sleeping with one of the players. It was true. The news covered it and everything. He was mid-30s and she was 16. There was a rumor at my school that a history teacher and girls volleyball coach was having sex with a few students. Very true. He was taken out of class and put in handcuffs. I was friends with two of the maybe 4 girls. Teacher was selling coke to students and letting them smoke weed in her classroom, get high on coke at her house. Yes, it turned out to be true. This was the same year the middle school teacher at the school next door was busted for child touching. Your town knows how to party. A special needs kid created a hit list that included most of the black people in my school. It turned out to be true. Most of the black people. No, I wouldn't kill Jerome. He's my dog. Middle-aged high school history teacher was hitting on the freshman girls a little too much. The lingerie he bought for one of them was some damning evidence that got him fired. Teacher took 2 students to a concert and then had a 3-way. Was true. And then a year or 2 later I think one of our coaches did the same thing. I went to an all-boys boarding school. Well, there was a rumor that many of the very popular upperclassmen were having kind of a gay orgy, including one of the adults in charge of a floor in the student housing. All these guys were pulling crazy amounts of girls. Everyone was 18 out of the orgy, so everyone can stand down. Adult was fired immediately once rumor spread at end of term. True. Rumor. Some kid jacked off in the cafeteria ranch dressing. Reality. Some kid jacked off in the cafeteria ranch dressing. He had to get tested for STDs since a ton of people consumed it, so there was a chance they could have gotten one from him. Luckily he was clean. Google for news article verification. I feel like the sort of guide to jerk off into dressing doesn't really have a whole lot of opportunities to get STDs. That a girl there regularly had sex with horses. I still to this day have no idea if it was true. She was pretty chill though. Everyone knows that one horse girl. That one of our English teachers had written erotic novels under a pseudonym. We never could find them, but given some of the stuff he used to give out in class and his general way, it was certainly plausible. Weak. Our English teacher openly wrote erotic novels in his own name and often read them to our class. He was awesome. There were 2 boys, Mark and Richard, who went away with Richard's dad to a holiday house. One of them left a piece of clothing to dry on a heater and the house caught fire, killing Mark and burning 40% of Richard's body. The dad, to my knowledge, didn't have any serious burns. The rumor was that Richard's dad saved his son but didn't even try to save Mark. The rumor was bogus, but it had everyone talking about it for a year. What had actually happened was the Mark dried his jumper on the heater in his room, which was located on the top floor. He was already dead by the time the dad could reach him. Jesus frick man. Rumors. Not I'm gonna rip out your heart and eat it as. There was an underground pool that only the teachers had access to. My high school was built around 1999, was supposedly designed like a prison, has a massive amphitheater, and doesn't have any real walls aside from dividers in the wing areas. It also drew from a very affluent area, so you can imagine that shenanigans were always happening. From people smearing crap on the walls in the bathroom, to people snorting lines of coke off a textbook. Anyways, every person at my high school has heard about the pool rumor. Heck, it already had 3 levels and an amphitheater, so why not a pool? The teachers would often joke or allude to the pool, about how it was the last thing built, or that it wasn't filled with water so it couldn't be used. It was supposedly right under the gym floor and the gymnasium itself could open up to reveal a pool. I had zero period weight training my junior and senior year, and we'd occasionally scout the gym to see if there was any hidden access port to it. We found nothing. The world was going to end on the 20th of April, 1999. I have no idea how this rumor got started, but people were dead serious about it, and then the world didn't end and everything went on as normal. There was a rumor that a kid fricked a cat. It was true. People made Tumblr blogs of it. It spread like wildfire. That the vice principal quit and left the country with his family because his son would have been placed on death row. Okay, I admit, this requires an explanation. This happened after I left high school, so I'm not too familiar with it, and the high school was the Singapore American school. Basically, a lot of American teenagers in a strict country, so bad things are bound to happen. Anyway, Singapore has a death penalty if you have drugs over a certain amount. It's pretty straightforward. If you have weed over a certain amount, you go to death. Case closed. I've heard that if the school catches you with drugs, they have to report you to the Singaporean government within 24 hours. Therefore, the school will inform you right away, and then give you 23 hours and 59 minutes to get the frick out. Anyway, the vice principal, whose son was in the school at the time, suddenly quit and his son suddenly dropped out without any notice, left with no warning, no packing, etc. Putting 2 and 2 together, this makes the most sense, that he had to leave for legal reasons right away, and this isn't some guess based off nothing. Something similar happened to a classmate in my homeroom. I'm sure people are aware of the caning incident of an American teenager, Michael Fay. Well, he was a junior at the time, and I was a sophomore, and he was arrested at school, so I was very familiar with that. Anyway, long story short, he wasn't the only. There was an Australian in my homeroom who was also caught up in the whole thing. Since he was under 18, they couldn't take his passport. So, around the time Michael Fay was put into prison, his family left all of a sudden with no warning. He was absent a few days and no one really noticed until we read the newspaper and realized he was an international fugitive. He pretty much is to make sure that he never goes on a plane through Singapore again in his life. Anyway, that's a rumor that I heard from a good friend. I have no idea if that is true or not. There was an around 30-year-old teacher at my high school who was rumored to have fake boobs. This wasn't actually a rumor because she told people that it was true and was not ashamed at all. She was married. There was another rumor that she was sleeping with the only 2 black kids at the school, who were seniors at the time and 18, so technically it wasn't illegal. She was asked to resign after the school met with her and the boys and their parents, and then she got divorced. So I'm going to go with, yes, it was true. After I graduated, my cheerleading coach told me that she had gone to a party with one of the guys who she had supposedly slept with, and he told her that it was true and that she was the worst frick he'd ever had. The fricked up part of this is that this teacher had a little brother, who was also a senior, and the 2 boys she slept with definitely bullied him, prior to his sister deciding it was a good idea to sleep with them, and after, of course. She was a terrible person. That is awful for the brother. Poor kid. When I was a freshman in high school, the hot girl was a sophomore. Next year she wasn't in school anymore. The year after that I heard she was in P. Turned out to be true. The school had to block her name in Google. I like that. School blocked her name. We had something similar happen but never blocked her name. In my high school shortly after 9/11, people all of a sudden started passing out left and right, and some even had to be hospitalized. Rumor was that it was another terrorist attack, only this time they were releasing noxious chemicals into the ventilation system. We were evacuated and didn't have school for about 3 days while they investigated. Truth was, it was just moldy sandwiches and rotten fruit. Someone had been hiding their friend's lunch in one of the vents for like 2 weeks. Edit. All of a sudden I get people telling me that all of a sudden is incorrect. I'm just here to tell a story. Dang. Hiding their friend's lunch. That's something Osama bin Laden would orchestrate. In middle school, we always heard rumors of the hot reading teacher banging students. I didn't really believe it, but frick I wanted to. She'd wear short skirts and skimpy clothing, but never really seemed like the kind of teacher to do that. Then about 7 years later, I saw on the news about how she and a pay teacher from the local high school were in a love triangle with a 6th grade female student at the school. I was ecstatic, not because she was banging kids, but because the childhood rumor we all had turned out to be true. Then I realized I was no longer friends with any of the other students that talked about those rumors, and had nobody to excitedly tell. So there was this quiet kid at my high school, call him B. B had friends, but they were all secluded. They didn't talk to the rest of the school. So B gets sick one day. He goes to the doctor and has to stay home for a while. He's not in danger of dying, but he's contagious and thus has to stay home for about 2 weeks. Our classes were pretty small, so people started to notice after 2 days that he was missing. Rather than ask his friends, like logical people, his classmates just assumed he was dead. In less than a week the whole school knew B had been run over by a truck and people were trying to figure out when his funeral was. Needless to say, people were confused when he pulled a Jesus, minus the scars. He got a kick out of it, and it became a joke around school to say I thought you died when B showed up anywhere. My English teacher got an earring and there was a rumor that he went with a student. That turned into a rumor about how he was getting tattoos with students and paying for them. In one version of the rumor he himself pierced a student's ears, and in another, the student pierced his ears. He told us to please spread a rumor that he was a crack baby, because the only way to counteract a rumor is to drown it with an even more vicious rumor. The next semester, some PTA parent was overheard asking if it was true he was a crack baby. Everyone forgot about the earring thing and he went right on teaching. He also revealed the next semester that his earring was fake to begin with, but he hadn't wanted to remove it because he was curious to see how far the rumor would go. So, no, none of the rumors were true, as far as I know. I heard he later got a real earring, but I'd graduated by then, so I don't know. It seems like the sort of thing he'd do. Oh my god, he sounds awesome. That my best friend was having sex with another girl in our class in the science lab. Tiny, private Islamic school. That talk spreads fast. It wasn't true, but man, those few weeks were brutal. And meanwhile all I'm doing in the science lab is viewing my ejaculate under a microscope. TLDR. That's my breakfast. When I was in high school, there was a girl, can't remember her name, let's call her Jamie, who was dating this kid we all called Army Drew because he wore army fatigues to school. Well, story goes that Army Drew's parents were out of town, so he invited Jamie over for the night. They stayed in his parents' master bedroom and did what unsupervised high school kids do. Sex. They had sex. Anyways, the next morning, they are both still naked as the day they were born. Army Drew gets up to go to the bathroom, while Jamie lounges in the nice big bed. She's laying on her stomach when Army Drew comes back and shoves his face into her butt and begins motorboating her chocolate starfish like he's digging for lemons with his tongue. Then, he rears back and hollers into the morning air. That's my breakfast. The incident got around school because girls tell their best friends everything, and as soon as they get in one little fight over some minute balls, the best friend blabbers their most embarrassing weird sex situations all over the lunchroom and MySpace. For some reason, no one gave Army Drew any crap for it, but Jamie had people yelling that my breakfast at her for months afterwards, and I, who had one class with her, still remember it 10 years later. I'm sure she's thrilled she made such a lasting impact on so many people. This sounds like something Thad Castle would do. That a friend of mine was gay, even though he had an on-again off-again girlfriend. He came out right after high school. Likely was afraid of getting harassed, bullied, which is understandable since some kids' teens can be senselessly mean. Happened in college, but one of the sergeants with our ROTC battalion was always super weird, especially around kids, so we always joked that he underage poked. He got arrested a year later on 47 counts of sex with a minor. That some guy took so much acid that he thought he was a carton of orange juice, and if he fell over all the orange juice would spill out and he'd die. Number. It wasn't true. This was a DARE story for a long time. One of the janitor's daughter had sex on the stage in the cafeteria after hours when she stole her dad's keys. I was the guy, so I'm pretty certain it was true. Nice. A girl in our middle school was getting paternity tests to figure out who the father of her daughter was. They finally found out it was a senior, but not before rumors spread that the last person they were going to test was a classmate's father. Turned out to be true. However, her, at the time boyfriend, decided to raise the daughter, and although they're no long dating, he still plays the father role. Interesting use of commas. Predated my time in high school and continued after. The shop teacher had allegedly been caught masturbating in his office. He was dubbed Captain Jack. Every year someone would convince some uninitiated freshman to call him Captain Jack. Probably not. But he did get furious and red in the face with anger when called Captain Jack, and on one occasion smashed a table with a hammer. He was so pissed off by it. Assistant football coach was banging a student during detention in the teacher lounge. It was true. Her friend told her mom, who then reported it to authorities. They had to go to court. I don't know what happened to him. That the head cheerleader and the baseball star, not her boyfriend, were fricking in the bathroom during class. Both were from very wealthy families. Never confirmed, but we suddenly got a new football field and both teams got ISS, in school suspension, which doesn't go on your HS transcript, for unknown reasons for a day. Another rumor was that the vice principal was sleeping with the married nurse. It was true. The video of them starting to frick in the elevator was shown on a local news channel. Also, the nurse ended up pregnant with his baby. You would think a nurse would know how to use protection. Dang. There was a rumor that Vivian, the super Christian, no sex before marriage girl, was pregnant. It was. She had twins. Then she turned into one of those crappy photographers who only pictures of her kids in grayscale on Facebook, so I deleted her. I've talked about this on Reddit before. There was a rumor 2 teachers, one married, one not, were a bit too close. The wife also worked at the school as a teacher. I didn't really believe it, never paid much attention. Just thought it was kids reading too much into a friendly colleague relationship. Then single woman gets pregnant. Now the rumor is that the baby is the male teacher's kid, and there was some evidence to back it up. Male teacher suddenly openly spending more time with the female teacher. Wife suddenly not speaking, being friendly to either of them and not mentioning her husband in class. That sort of thing. I started to believe it, but nothing confirmed. Then there was an assembly, in which the principal explained the new rule: no gossiping about the teachers, or you will get detention. During the assembly, he confirmed the baby did belong to the male teacher due to an indiscretion, and that we were not to discuss the teacher's personal lives any further. I should say at this point that everyone, even the kids no one talked to, knew about this rumor and had their ideas of what was happening. I had heard some people confronted both the female and male teacher, but this was never confirmed. Everyone was really kind to the wife, because she really was a sweet woman and a good teacher. Most everyone was cruel to the pregnant teacher, and there was definitely some iciness towards the male teacher, mostly from the staff, but students as well. There was an additional rumor that the married couple was in the process of adopting a baby when this whole thing happened, but that part was never confirmed. The wife's infertility was an open subject though, because she would discuss it in her English classes. It was a wild final year. Not exactly a rumor, but my pay teacher, who is married and Catholic, is following a person on Twitter named Pacifics. It's exactly what it sounds like. How nice to host a Twitter dedicated to pictures of cats. We all just knew that one of the guys in our graduating class had died in Vietnam the summer after we graduated from high school. Common knowledge. Everybody knew. He showed up at the 10-year reunion, not dead. He had been working in Vegas as a dancer in a big musical show. A sophomore came out of the closet so that he would be able to get close to the senior girls. Then, after the friendship was cemented, he would say he was confused and get the girls to sleep with him. I was that sophomore. It was not true. There was a new girl in my high school. She was thin, pretty and outgoing. Very quickly became popular. Within a week she was dating a jock and hanging out with all the cool people. Then a rumor hit the school about why she transferred. Apparently she was at a party and decided to participate in a gangbang. It was dark, and without knowing it, she fricked her brother. All of her friends and her BF dropped her so quickly. Then she stopped showing up to school. It was never truly confirmed. My oldest friend went to her former school and said that rumor was why she left that school as well. A male teacher was accused of being inappropriate with female students. I don't remember if the rumor mill said that touching was involved. This was the early 1990s. In 2012, though, a student ended up suing him. At the beginning of each year, the geometry teacher would choose a male student who she'd sleep with during the year. One year it was supposedly a guy I knew reasonably well, yet I never heard a word from him about it. Plus, it seemed a little too borderline white to me. That I had a steel testicle after an operation of which one was removed. Operation part was true but still have 2 functioning testicles. Gnarly scar on my scrot though. This girl could deep throat a roll of Ritz crackers. I don't know about the crackers, but I know how far she got when she blew me. That some kids were selling heroin, which later was found out to be weed, then just pot brownies, and finally just regular brownies. Funny how much kids can over-exaggerate things. Noun. A highly addictive analgesic drug derived from morphine, often used illicitly as a narcotic producing euphoria. Not her. Noun. A woman admired or idealized for her courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. There was a rumor one of the girls in the year above me got spit roasted by 2 guys while on a school camp in I believe year 9. For that year level's final assembly, where they get to basically put on a show for the whole school, the girl was carried out attached to a piece of wood, like a pig on a spit. Not sure if that confirms it, or if that girl was just remarkably cool with the rumor, but it was pretty funny either way. That my wife was a huge S. I didn't know her at the time, but knew of her. The stories that went around about her were really crazy, but no one knew what was true and what wasn't. Stories of blowing half the football team at once, sleeping with teachers, male and female, orgies, anal, and everything else. She settled down a bit in her 20s. We got together, now married with kids. She tells me in detail the stories of what really happened. Let's just say that 99% rumors were true. Congrats. You somehow turned a hoe into a housewife. 100 achievement points. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.